The chandelier lights shimmered like captured stars above the upscale restaurant in downtown Chicago, but Claire's hands trembled as she adjusted the napkin on her lonely table. Across the room, wealthy diners whispered behind sparkling glasses, their muffled laughter stabbing deeper than any blade. They saw her plain blouse, her worn handbag, the way she sat alone at a table meant for families or lovers. They remembered her from the whispers, the nanny who disappeared. She heard the quiet snickers when she took a sip of water, pretending she belonged in a place where she clearly didn't. But she had come for a reason she had sworn she would face even if the world laughed in her direction. And in that moment, before everything changed, she felt the weight of every lonely year pressing against her chest, as though silence itself had betrayed her. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet heroes who deserve to be seen, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. Claire tried to steady herself as she scanned the room. She had spent 3 years avoiding this very building, this very man, and most painfully, the little girl whose life she had once been part of. She had promised herself she would never look back, but life had a strange way of pulling you toward what you once loved. She had received a message earlier that morning from a restaurant hostess she still knew. Graham and Harper Matthews have a reservation tonight. If you ever wanted to see her again. That single line had been enough to fracture the dam she had kept sealed for years. She wasn't here to intrude. She only wanted to see Harper. Once. From a distance. To make sure she was happy. To make sure leaving had been the right choice. Claire's memories flickered like scenes from an old film. The day she first arrived at the Matthews estate, barely 19, desperate for work after her mother passed. The way Harper, then a chubby toddler with soft curls, clung to her as though recognizing her soul. And Graham, the powerful CEO who never smiled for anyone except his daughter, and sometimes for Claire, when he thought she wasn't looking. For 2 years, the three of them had felt like an unlikely little family, stitched together by laughter and bedtime stories, by rushed breakfasts, and Harper's tiny hand always reaching for Claire's. Until the night Graham's sister accused Claire of overstepping, of dreaming above her status, of being a distraction in the house. Graham hadn't defended her. That silence had been louder than any betrayal. So Claire packed and left. She left the house, the job, and the little girl who clung to her skirt crying her name. She left because staying hurt more than walking away. Now she sat in the restaurant's hush, painfully aware of the diner's judgmental glances. She looked out the window toward the street, telling herself she would leave soon. Just 5 more minutes, she whispered internally. Just long enough to catch a glimpse. But before she could gather her purse, a small shadow fell across her table. Claire blinked. There, wearing a mint green dress and tiny white shoes, stood Harper. Older now, maybe 5 or 6. More graceful, yet still carrying the soft innocence she remembered. And without hesitation, without fear, without a second thought, the little girl climbed right into Claire's lap and wrapped her arms around her neck as though no time had passed at all. The restaurant's laughter died instantly. Forks paused. Chairs froze. Conversations evaporated. Claire couldn't breathe. Her eyes flooded as Harper pressed her cheek against her shoulder, whispering with trembling excitement, "Dad said you'd come back." Behind them stood Graham, tall in a navy suit, hands in his pockets, watching with an expression she had never seen on him before. Something between heartbreak, relief, and awe. For a moment, Claire forgot how to speak. She carefully held Harper's small frame, feeling her heartbeat racing against her own. She inhaled the familiar scent of baby shampoo and vanilla cookies, a memory she once thought she had lost forever. Graham stepped closer but didn't interrupt. He simply let the moment bloom. He looked exhausted, as though the years had weighed heavily on him too. Claire could see in his eyes that this wasn't a coincidence. He had brought Harper here intentionally. He had hoped Claire would appear. When she finally managed to steady her voice, Claire gently asked Harper if she was okay. The little girl nodded fiercely and clung even tighter, as if the world might snatch Claire away again. As Claire held Harper, the whispers around the room transformed, not into laughter, but into soft murmurs of understanding, guilt even. The same diners who mocked her now watched with softened faces, their expressions shifting as they realized nothing about this moment was ordinary. Graham slowly pulled out the chair opposite Claire and sat down, his voice quiet and thick with emotion as he explained everything. How Harper cried for months after Claire left, how he searched for her but never found the courage to confront his own mistakes, how he regretted letting his sister influence him, how he told Harper every night that someday, if God allowed, the person who loved her more than anyone would return. Claire listened, tears falling silently, each one washing away a layer of old pain. She never expected an apology from him, yet here he was, laying his pride on the table between them. She never expected Harper to remember her, but here she was, holding on with a love that never faded. The truth shimmered between them like fragile glass. They had all been broken by the same separation. Slowly, the laughter in the restaurant transformed into something else. Applause. Soft at first, then stronger, as strangers acknowledged the reunion that felt almost divine. Claire felt her heart swell in ways she couldn't name, but she knew one thing with certainty. Some bonds were written by destiny, stitched by love, held together by the hands of a child. As Graham asked if she would stay for dinner, Claire hesitated only for a breath. Then she nodded, because she finally understood that running away wouldn't heal anything, but maybe returning could. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep emotional stories like this alive. Before the ending, please comment, "Love deserves a second chance." And with that, Claire sat with Harper in her arms, Graham watching her with a quiet hope, and a room full of strangers witnessing the moment when a broken family found its way back together under the glow of a single chandelier.